and welcome back to the channel and to our final World Cup of Design playthrough. This is Pontip Garden Club, which is in Group G with Tough Group, Nassau Field Club by Grovey, 31, Enchanted Rock, Patlavar, Sweet Danny Farm from Slightly Saucy, and then Pontip Garden, which is one we're playing now. We've got a lot to live up to. Now, I'm not sure he's filled out the form yet, because it's the one that I don't have. So I'm just going to go with common sense approach on this one and see what we get. Let's see. So, red tees it is. We're going to go pin 3 and just going to go medium and let's go east winds. Why not? I'm assuming there probably wasn't much else. So, Brock's one of the guys in the field that I don't know a ton about, which is always cool because you get surprises, and I also haven't known what anyone was doing, so it's all surprises. Okay, so this looks like Florida. The red makes me think of Naples. I've seen a couple of courses that do that. I'm not sure I would have used the red. It's really bright. I guess that fits the look. So we're looking what kind of Sawgrass, Harbour Town style. Big pan bunkers. Now, okay, I have some thoughts on the bunkers. Yeah, okay. So the bunkering, this sort of shape, really, really good. I think that artistic style peak die shape works really, really nicely. These ones less good because they're just big and they're not doing much visually or kind of interest. So I think the more you can kind of go with this stuff, the better, and like mix up shapes and sizes as well. Try to. It's really tough, particularly with the flat bottoms. Yeah, this sort of stuff like can work really nicely too. Okay, we've got one of those. We'll come back to that. It's the first hole as well. Okay, I think we've done some stuff that's going to be interesting. We have bridge, part 3. We've got some water features as expected. Lots of water. Definitely the lowland Florida vibe, which is a look I really like. So, yeah, fingers crossed it lives up to it. Nice variety here. Good. I haven't played it, so we. Oh, and then we get some coastal stuff. Fun. And Clubhouse is here. Clubhouse looks nice. Clubhouse is very nice. Oh, rock and roll came to play. Somewhere Skinny Post just got slightly excited and he doesn't really know why. Cool. Okay, and then we have a car park, obviously with no cars. Good on you. I feel like that's become a standard contest move now, and it should be. Oh, more houses and stuff here. We've gone to town on the decoration of the houses. Yeah. Okay, let's give this one a go. Okay. Oh, so we're confronted by this bunker, which it's a die thing. I hate them. Yeah, the kind of elevated bunkers. Now the flat bottoms, even without this, like there's some sculpting stuff on this. It will get there with practice, but you want to keep the where you've got the lip above it here, like that sort of height. You want to do the same all the way around, because that, as you can see, that sand kind of is popping up, and it just looks a little awkward. Interesting trees on the corner. It's definitely prompting us to play down the right.
This is a nice idea.
Thanks, Matt. I think generally sculpting is going to be a key theme throughout the playthrough. So you can see how the bunker is housed here, and then it rises up and then it dips down massively. I'd smooth this out, particularly with lowland Florida, where I'm presuming this is based. And like yes, there's some harsh die sculpting in places, but big picture stuff generally fits into the land. I like the sculpting on the side of the bunker. It's just this is drawing my eye a little more. I think a lot of it is because you've flattened the pans and then just not smoothed out this bit. Funny that we were talking about tie-ins on Granger's course a minute ago, and I referenced the Axel playthrough. He kind of does the same thing currently, where it's like the pan is flat and then it drops down, and just keep it. once you've done the bunker, that's not the end of it. You've kind of got to make it fit within the landscape as well. I really like the planting on this side, and here, like, it's a dense look, but I think it works well. Same thing with smoothing the sculpting here, like some little flattens here will do the world of good. And the obvious one is lose the mow lines. They just generally don't work well in the game. Even for courses that do have them. Okay, 9-9. The main reason they don't work is because they don't follow where the pharaoh's oriented. They follow the compass direction for some reason, which means that they're always pointing at different ways, and yeah, and like you can see how this one goes into this one. It just doesn't look good. Right. Soapbox on mow lines is over. Oh, good. I have a child awake. Fingers crossed they can actually just entertain each other for a little bit. I've always been a sucker for this sort of a look. I think it's done well. I've seen it done a bit better, like the Evangelist kind of look when that came out, and some of it gets a little bit dense with the trees in here, but I think it works pretty well. I probably avoid the tropical trees. Just decisions were made, true. Just because they get super shiny in the sunlight, that would be my main reason for avoiding those. But they are also autogen, so that does help. Or rather, they're theme objects, and therefore they don't use up memory and things like that. Cool. Solid first hole. Okay. I don't mind the use of grass, but it needs spreading out a little bit, so it's not just all one big clump and then we're not doing grass anywhere else. Like, you're kind of either spreading this around here and putting other grasses in, or you're just doing none of it at all. Same here, like, I like it, but just make it a bit sparser, and yeah, I think all of the ideas you've got are good. It's just the execution is the thing. I really like the par 3 as it sits. I think the green is a little small. It's very small for the length of shot you're asking us to put in. And again, the sculpting, like, you can see you've brought the green up. You've just got this semicircular sculpt where it's all just dropping down in front of it. Try and smooth that out, or keep it sharp in places but smooth it out in others, and like you'll get a much better look. This bunker is very different to the others. We haven't done standard bunker anywhere else. The bridge stings. Your bridges stink. I don't mind bridge. I don't love it being supported by bushes, but it's taken lots of work, so I'm not going to mention it until now. Sightline's good though. Oh, that's going left in a hurry. Yeah, was not comfortable with that tee shot. I'm getting a little bit of frame rate issues on a few of the holes here, and I don't really know why. I'm going to put it down to my PC rather than anything to do with the course. Okay, so now we're at the water, which works. I probably would have just brought in a little bit more planting here, so that transition from trees to water is a little less stark, or covered up this side. I think that would have been the thing. Like, give us all of the negative space out this side. Let's look at the water, block off everything down here. Generally, a really good person to look at for this style of course is Mayday's courses. Like, if you go and look at Fisheye Bay and where he blocks out parts and leaves parts open, same with Evangelist. Like, he does this stuff really well. I tried to replicate it on Emery Beach a little bit. Some of it's good, some of it's less good. Green's interesting. I love this contour, and that adds interest kind of around there. Again, I think just get a little bit more creative with the bunker shaping would be my main thing. got a nasty pin for this one, and it's a long hole. I would say generally your greens are a little bit on the small side for the shot that you're asking us to play in. Okay, so like a good example with this, we're going to analyse what you've done to put in the way of this. We've got a mound here, which is making it so that we can't see. It's kind of, you can very much see where man has raised this bit up to this height, and then everything else around it is dead flat. So you've got dead flat, up, dead flat. Like, we can do a bit more detail contouring around it and just make it fit in a little bit better. So that's blocking our vision because we're on this side, which I'm okay with. If that's kind of part of the hazard. I've then got this pin to deal with, which I'm hitting a 6-iron into with a slope this way, and it runs off. It's got a run off short. There's the hint of a backstop here, and don't plant it, agreed. And I'm also coming in over a bunker, and it's a tiny green. Like, you've just defended this a bit too much. The green needs to be a good third of the size more, a little bit. A good guideline for greens, I would say, is if you're splining them, do it about 95 yards as like a standard green. 85 would be small, 105 would be big. Gives you a bit of a framework within which to work. I do like the bunker in front of me, and the way that's kind of bisected the fairway is nice, because this one ties in really well with everything around it. It works. This one slightly less so. Yeah, Strangy. Yeah, what time is it for you guys? Because as you can see, I'm a tiny bit out, but I don't really have any choice on this. Like, I've got to go for it because it's par 4. It's very penal. Yeah, this is better framed because like you've got a little bit of a view over to here, which I like, and then much denser stuff over this side. Okay, we're heading towards water on the outside of the dogleg, which is always tricky to do. Cool little firework effects. One thing you can see is where you've used circle brushes to flatten up. You can see how it's gone here, here, here. Let's just make it a bit neater. Like, spend more time with your sculpting, smooth, like make this a bit more of a straight curve. Ooh, that's grim. Again, this bunker just, I don't dislike it, but I'm not sure it fits. Like, you've got this one. Just bring this in. Because I really like how this is. I think all you needed to do with this hole, this bunker, I think actively makes it a slightly worse golf hole, I'm afraid. Like, keep this bunker down here. Just run fairway here. And the challenge is just how close do you want to skirt this bunker and out here, and how much do you think you can take on? Or do you want to carve a fade around it? I think that would be a really good golf hole, but this one kind of just forces me to lay up, really. Oh, we like Strangy. I do like this style. Yeah, and when you've done the bunkers kind of cutting in a bit more, they do work better. Still think you can get a bit more artistic with them. And like, they're not flat bombs, and you could, it takes it takes time, but like there are ways to smooth this out so it's all dead flat, and I think that would have given you a much better look as well. The green is overly contoured. Like, the red, it's just a bit heavy on the red slopes. And I don't mind any of the slopes you've got. I just think they should be yellow rather than red. You don't really want anything beyond like 3 boxes of red on a green at the moment in this game. Oh, kids seem to be playing nicely, so that's good news. Especially, and you've published at 186s, which is also an odd move. Don't do that, because that removes a choice from schedulers. Somewhere in the 170s would be perfect for this, and that would turn a lot of the red slopes into yellows. And yeah. Yes, you can kind of get away with it because of the die style, but this one feels very manufactured. Definitely lose these 2 bunkers. give us way more space to lay up. It's like if I wanted to lay up with a 5-iron, that's as pinched as laying up with 3 wood to here. I don't hate the concept of the hole. I think you just need to be a bit more mindful of the person who may not have this shot, which might also be me. Yeah, it's me. Hooray! And suddenly we have a much longer approach than we do. And even then, the screen's got a tiny little false front, which is just because I think we're raising all of our greens up, probably because Andre told everyone to do that a while ago. Every green should start out by raising it up 2 feet. Don't do that. Smooth this out, because someone, in this case me, would like to land a ball slightly short and have that forgiveness of rolling it on. I also have absolutely zero barrel out of the screen. We're going to aim over here because I don't want to deal with the water, and I'm deliberately missing the green. I wasn't deliberately missing it that time. I just want to take 5 off the card. Cool. That'll do. Yeah, I think that hole's just a bit too penal. Like, it's got all of the right ideas as to how you're doing it. It's just the execution. Like, think about the person who maybe doesn't have that drive. This also gets very narrow, but I like that we're out towards the coast. This is interesting. You can just tie the bits of planting together, so like little bits of grass that are going between these areas would be good. So, thank you for not making it out of bounds. I'm enjoying it though. Like, it's an interesting course. This is a tiny green, and yeah, I do really like this one. It's teeny tiny and memorable. But yeah, you generally want to make your greens a little bit bigger than you're doing currently. We're going to hit 5 wood because I would quite like to have a full wedge in. Yay. It's not my best, but we're on the surface. Indeed. Tiny. There is lots of this I'm really liking. Granted, it is a style of course that I recognise I have a bias towards, but there's good creativity in the ideas. Oh, we've done a Biarritz. Kind of a... At least we've done something slightly different. Like, it's got a little bit of a pocket here and here. And I'd say this is probably the worst pin on here in that it's just forcing me to be a bit too tight to here. And again, we're in that magic gap between 3-iron and 5-iron. So I'm just going to smash it long. So I'm not dealing with a random, like, topped ball into the water. Oh yeah, of course it's 186s, so everything's going to roll into the swamp. I have to say, the course can handle the 186s really nicely. I just wouldn't have published at that speed because if you want, with a contest, if you want to do something like this, just say published speed is 170, let's say, but playable at 186s as well. Okay, that's a very steep fall off. It's fine on a par 5. We've suddenly gotten really wide. And the kind of stop bunkers have made a bit of a return. Like, bunkering on this hole works way less well. There's also some contouring that feels a little random.
I want something for Pontip Garden.
Okay. and completely on the wrong side of the green. I do like the difference in green site and the fact that we're now in just like a little amphitheatre of trees. I think you could have done this a little bit more and spaced out water holes a touch. So I think this is a nice breather and it's still a good environment. Yeah, this bunker maybe gets a little bit in and out because none of this fairway is usable, really. If you land it in here, you may be bouncing the bunker, but like if you look at the die courses, they don't really do these sorts of shapes. Nor do they do these shapes or these two because they're just a bit big and simple. Somewhere between the two. Yeah, bless him. That one was real life. I think you're always going to struggle with this bunker because you're trying to make it flat bottom and also visible. So you're trying to raise it up at the same time, lower it down, and just like it's also kind of feeding into the green. Like this one, I genuinely think you just simplify the green complex a little bit. Have it go around so where we're tracing, so like that sort of a shape, and just have a bunker behind that kind of feeds into this one. One trick I used with Emery Beach, if you had a bunker behind the green, is just have it really clearly wrapping into one that you can see going all the way around the corner, and then you can just assume, you can be pretty clear it's an extension of the same bunker. That might need to go. And the brushwork back there looks nice. I would like if it went a little bit further than just beyond, like depth of planting could be a little bit better. But what you're doing is good. And we've made it back to the clubhouse on 9. A very up and down scorecard on the front. Okay, so the back and we're starting up with more tree line stuff. Given that it's all in shadow, I think just bring trees in. I guess you want people to be able to lay out.
What the shop we got about?
Yep, that one's not a blurb. That's just random recounting of the day that we've had. I think this option is too narrow for anyone to really consider. With a bunker right and water left, you need to give more. My general feedback is going to be about spacing and scaling, I think. And then this bit just looks a bit empty and it goes really flat and then drops down, like sculpting Harbourtown 9 green. Oh, is it? I don't know it that well. I would also always avoid the red slope straight into light rough because it's or heavy rough. This is never reaching the bunker. You can't get people to roll off and into this unless you're using splined bunkers, and even then you have to pull some tricks. Hopefully in the next game, if Panda sources life out. Oh, we're gonna hit into that a little bit. Shame. And I think you're also like you're on 186s. You don't need to defend against the angle quite this much when you've got water on the right. Like soften this slope. Just have this be green. Like what? Yeah, just have this be flat really. And I would be very wary about doing a slope heading towards another slope, like significant slope, because people will end up running down this one and running across this one and running down this one and then into this one. Like you kind of want to keep people on the tier that they, yeah. It just gets a little bit gimmicky if they don't. Case in point. It's like I don't really feel like I ever had a choice of like there was zero options on that. I was always going to be running off the back of the green. This is nice because you're bringing in planting in front of the tee, and that breaks things up visually a little bit more. Now, when you kind of fly over it, I think the planting itself could be a little bit more, like, again, tied in. So have the grasses kind of link up between this bit and this bit and this bit and this bit. Not like grass everywhere, but just a little bit more randomness in between them, rather than just there's a clump of planting here and here and here and here and here and here, etc. Green itself is definitely challenging, and I've got a 3-wood into this. Okay. You've also not really given me any room to run the ball onto, because we've got another one of those beautiful 2-foot drops just in front, and then a longer drop. I'd say this would be a fair green up to a 7-iron. At 3-wood distance, you need to soften. Give it a go, but yeah. 3-wood, generally, with a 3-wood par 3 hole, you want to be helping the player towards the pin as much as possible and towards the green. Whereas with other par 3s, you kind of want to be doing everything possible to take them away from it. Maybe not quite as reductive as that, but that's kind of that seems to be the thinking. Like, that par 3 would have been absolutely fine for an iron. A mid-iron, less good for a wood. Okay, caught these bunkers and on the flyovers. I like this one. I kind of dislike all of the rest. I think you'd be better served by losing these two and just having water up against the green. I think it would look neater. As it is, you can see really clearly how you've raised the land just to house a bunker. The same here. And that said, things I do like, near water, particularly if you brought it in the back of the green, I think this trick of putting a tier, a relatively shallow back tier near water, is a great move, because it makes people take that little bit more club, which brings the water long a touch more in play. I also like the front tier, is fun. Like, cool little double plateau. There's our slow straight into the big bunker. We just like, oh no, not even. Well, now we're just going to hit something and hope that it runs through the swale. And we've got a little bit too much, but yeah. I mean, as it is, people have to do really well just to get it in, to get it long. But hey, 1 over, and deservedly so after that hole. All right, heading back into the trees, we've got cart path crossing, green jutting into an island of sand. Okay. Okay. Both of these bunkers are way too wide. Like, I get the purposes that they're serving, but yeah, just a bit too big. I like that you've managed to get the pin showing through the pines. Looks really good. And it's definitely a Pete Dye style design hole, because it's the very sawgrassy of you hit it one way off the tee and then you work it the other way on the approach, which I really like. I think it's, for a certain style of hole, I think it works really nicely. Oh, as if I worked it too much. I'm definitely getting some stutter, which often suggests that maybe objects might be a little bit too big, but I'm willing to put that down to my computer as well. Come on, come down, come down. You're thinking about it. There we go. But yeah, you can see just from the golfer down there just how kind of out of proportion the bunker is. I like that hole a lot more than some of the others, though, certainly. Okay, so here we've gone big reverse camber, but the problem we're kind of facing is it's a flat course and a flat plot, so in creating this, it just feels a little artificial. I'm not disliking that we've got elevation change on the back nine. You've also then propped up a bunker in a very similar style to the previous one, just like over this. To try to do something different, given that you've just done this on the previous hole.
Camber.
That's my boy. Bit of a road hole to this, though. I think. I want to say that's where the inspiration has come from. I don't, as kind of mentioned on a previous playthrough, I don't love a spine that's directly in front of a pin. Just feels a bit like use these if a pin is one side or the other. Don't use them if the pin is directly beyond it, because it just takes you away from it and feels a little penal. It's a simple thing, but this is a really good sightline. Like, yeah, we can detail the planting in the background a little bit. I'd love to see more bushes and stuff underneath here. But you frame the left side really nicely. The right side we can see through. You've got enough on the underbrush. The backdrop's great. And it just really highlights the green and the bunkers behind them. Now, yeah, I've got my thoughts on the bunker sizing. I think you can pull this off better, but that looks really good. Because it's just simple and it's done and it's highlighting all of the right things. And there's the bunker we didn't like. Yay! I am certainly struggling with frame rate. I think most of my shots recently have had some sort of input lag, which is fine. I will play it again off stream and see whether it's a me thing or a course thing. Okay, 15. Guess heading back down towards the coast now. When I saw this from the overhead, I originally thought the green was down here and then this was like apron. I don't know if I love the whole. I guess it's very peak dye. I think this would work again if the bunker shape were smaller. Like if this was a little bit cutting in and then it gets bigger this way, you can put more fairway short here. I think this all works better. I think Matty would also.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah, Matty would not forgive me for failing to point out that you've created a bit of a penis green. There's that. I like this bunker. I like that you are encouraging us to take on the left-hand side, and then that, like, if I play away from that, you're giving us space, but knowing that that's a worse angle and coming in over here. And this is one of the better greens for sloping, like at the speeds you've set them at. I feel like you've gone for more variety on this back nine. I don't know if we've had water. We have had some water, I think. But like the front nine had an awful lot of water, back nine less so. I just kind of wonder whether you could have, like, because of where you put the water in and how you brought it in, like if you could have mixed and matched a little bit more, I think you'd have a really varied golf course. So like here, it feels like about right to come to the water. Lose this bunker. The water is your best hazard. If I'm going for the green, don't just save me with a bunker. It also makes it almost impossible to access this pin at all. Like, yeah, and it kind of looks a little bit awkward as well. I think sculpting is going to be sculpting is a key thing to take away from this one. Right. The ideas are all there. It is just the execution. I think it would be rude not to. And again, the green itself is interesting. On its own, I think fits the hole really nicely. Chuck the bunkers and the water in and the narrow fairway where you can't really generate an angle. And that's why I'm just blasting driver at it, knowing that I can probably go right and it's fine. Because I don't see any benefit in, like, if I lay up, I'm just putting all of that danger onto the approach. Whereas here, I don't have it. So like, I feel like I can just put a bit of spin on that, roll it down the hill, and pretty simple uphill putt. Okay, 17. Yeah, I dislike the bunker. I'm afraid. See you later, Strangy. it just feels a bit forced how you're saying where you can hit some sort of driver here and then something over here and then the green is really narrow and tight and yeah, I think it just needs a bit more friendliness. Uh, as it is, we're just going to hit something partial down this side. I don't think I'd ever see myself taking on the water. It's just too tight off the tee. Second shot definitely makes you think. I'd probably take this down to just a pot, like really small bunker here, just because it'll allow you a bit more fairway to tempt people to go for it. As it is, because the bunker's so big, I don't want to go there. But it's sculpted aggressively enough that I definitely don't want to end up in it. Which is a good thing. Yeah, but I'm okay with bringing bits into it. Is it? It maybe is purely peak time envision, inspired. Sorry, slow did not help me. I like the planting by the next tee. I think that works well. We're finishing on a par 3 as well. That's a nice touch. Kind of like finishing on a par 3. You can really show off the clubhouse you've created. It is a bit unique. It does fit. I'm okay with it. Is it the best par 3? It's kind of doing Redan-like things, but you're giving us a wedge shot. In many ways, make the green a bit bigger. Keep the slopes the same size, but take the green out to about this wide. So you create basically that much more putting space on this side. Angle the bunker a bit and make this a 3-iron, 4-iron shot. And then I think you've got a golden finisher. With a wedge shot, I think I'd probably contour the green a little bit differently because these are more feeder slopes to get a ball that is already running to filter towards an otherwise inaccessible hole location. Whereas with a wedge shot, we're just going to drop and stop it. So you don't need those slopes. He says, putting it in the bunker. Obviously knew that was going to happen. It's fine. See if we can hit. Excellent. We can still use the slope. I know I've mentioned it before. I really like the clubhouse. Certainly getting a nomination for the clubhouse awards. And there's a clock. Someone's been watching the playthroughs. I like the coastal planting. I think that works really nicely as well. Okay. We managed 2 under, which I am not too disappointed. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, mouse and screen. So, to wrap up our final playthrough, first of all, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, there is some stuff, and I think I don't know if you've done many contests or if any contests before, but I remember my first one, and the feedback I got was invaluable and just basically accelerated my development by, I want to say, about 6 months. So I'm really hoping this will do the same for you. It's the first time you get stuff pointed out to you. That's the most important piece of advice. Your major things to look at are scaling and sizing and sculpting and tying stuff together. You have all, and the final one would be just getting overly penal with hole designs. So going through each of them, the scaling and sizing, get an idea for how big a standard green should be and a framework for how big the slope should be. Because this one just got overly small and big slopes. I wonder whether 186s were planned as a published speed, but it feels like they might have been given the style of course. And get an idea for fairways and if it's going on. I don't know the difficulty, but I'm assuming this is elite or plat, and even then, I'd still have the same critiques. A narrow kind of section of fairway probably needs to be about half again, as much as you're giving it. Try to bunker sizing. It's a good example. Go on Google Earth, measure them out. So go and look at Harbour Town. How big are those bunkers? What shapes they use? Try and imitate as much as you possibly can and get that framework down. Because I can tell you right now, you've got all of the whole ideas that were really interesting. The environment was really yeah, it could use a little bit more polish with some of the planting, but it's really interesting and it's varied and it's cool and it's fun. And you keep all of those things and just tighten up on some of the technical stuff. Sculpting, just make things look natural, like rather than having the one big raise and then it's done. How can you tie that into everything else that's around it? And then the penal stuff is just like, if I'm not hitting driver, what am I doing? Am I hitting 3-wood? How much space do I have to hit 3-wood? If I hit 3-wood, do I still have an angle to make an easy par? Because on quite a few of the holes I didn't, and therefore a good example is that drivable par 4 on the back nine, 15, I want to say, like, or maybe 16. I'm a 1-2. I might as well hit driver and blow it right over the green because I'm never making par. I'm only ever making par any other way. Um, so like if you get too defensive all the way through the hole, it makes people go for it on holes like that. But yeah, so that's but I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun and like there's loads to like, particularly like 17, 18. That clubhouse is gorgeous. I think the look works really well. There was that one par 4 in the back I thought had a stunning sideline in. Um, yeah, there's loads of stuff you do well. Can't wait to see where you go from this next. So yeah, and that's our playthroughs done, which is exciting and feels like it's taken forever. So what will happen next is I'm hoping that judging will be done by Sunday. That'll be the 23rd, I think. And no, 20th. Sunday 20th. Um, but we won't release results until midweek or so because I'm anticipating once judging is done for that first round, any that are close, I'm going to ask more judges to look at it. Only 3 judges look, well, I say only, 3 is still a good number and they're good judges, but 3 judges look per group for the first bit of judging, and then any that are close, we're going to get all 7 of us to look at them. So yeah, and I'll keep you all posted. But those of you watching on YouTube, give the course a play. It's a lot of fun. See you again soon.